I'd like to welcome everybody to Eagles Haven Ministry. Shabbat Shalom. Yahuwah be with you. And I'd like to thank everybody for tuning in to Eliyahu. Thank Eliyahu and the family in Texas for taking over while we went on vacation. We had a great time. Got to spend some great time with my wife and my children and my mother. And so we got back in about a week ago, and last week we had some little difficulties getting the stream going back, but we're here now. We're back and we're ready to go. So let's open up in a word of prayer and give thanks unto Yahuwah and dig right into the word. Hallelujah. Abba Yahuwah, we come to you. We thank you. We thank you for bringing us back safely. We thank you for another Shabbat. We ask that you prepare our heart, that you would till up the ground, that we'd be able to receive the seed of the word today. And in other areas where we have seed, we ask that you would water us, and that it would bring a harvest that would be something that could be useful to you and to your reign, and something that could be acceptable as an offering and as a sacrifice unto you, our service unto you. And we know it all starts with the heart, with the Shem, the character, our character, and the way we carry ourselves that draws people unto you. As you living inside of us, it's you changing us from the inside out to be a copy of you, to look like you. You're our dad. And so we want to look like you. Just like when we see in the physical world, we see a child and we say, wow, he looks just like his dad. And we want to look like you, Yahuwah. We thank you for your son and for the example that he gave. And so we pray this in the name of Yahuwah, Yahushua, Mashiach, HaRuachEliyahu. Amen. We're going to start off, we're going to look at the scriptures in Yahukanan chapter 4, talking about the woman at the well. But the first thing I want to do is I want to give a definition of the word well, and to get an understanding of what it means. And what we're really going to dig into, we're going to talk about two things. The first thing we're going to talk about our past, okay? Not burying our past, but allowing the Ruach HaKodesh, as we're going to see in the example that Yahushua did with this woman at the well. The way he was able to go in and he was able to speak. He wasn't necessarily trying to expose what she was doing. He was basically trying to expose the brokenness, or the area that she needed healing in her heart. And so that's also what we're supposed to do with our individual lives. And then after we come to that place of healing, we're to help others in that area. But what I've come to realize is a lot of people haven't really received the healing. They don't really understand Yahushua or Yahuwah as the healer. They really haven't established that part of relationship with him where they can open up to him and to a deep issue, to a deep-rooted traumatizing or hurtful issue in their life, and that they could go back in a sense and open it up. And when that happens, a lot of times you'll feel the pain of it, but what you don't realize is in the Ruach HaKodesh, the Father is there and he's removing that pain. He's taking that pain away. He's bringing true healing. It's like if I have right here my shoulder bone. I don't even know what it's called, but I dislocated my shoulder and my bone sticks out, right? I did that years ago, and I never got it fixed, and so I kind of learned how to function with it. I mean, it's okay. Sometimes when I go to do like different exercises, like with weights or something, I notice it hurts a little bit because, it didn't heal properly. Now, I can function with it, so I just kind of leave it as it is. It's not really, it doesn't really affect me on a super huge level in that way. But let's say I really got into, let's say, sports or something where weights or something where I really wanted to do an exercise and I couldn't do it, and I decided, well, you know what? I need to fix this. Well, in order for my shoulder to be fixed, it would have to be re-broke and have to be set again. So I'd have to go through a little bit of pain again, but once I got through that pain, then my shoulder probably would be 100% healed. I'd be able to do a little bit more with my shoulder. I'd be full capacity. Well, that's the same thing that Yahushua wants us to be. He wants us to be at full capacity. So when he came and he was dealing with these people, he was there to heal them. Okay? And a lot of times we're not completely healed. We don't understand even the Ruach HaKodesh or the Father. We don't understand that he can heal us in that way. So we have a relationship with him, but it's like a surface relationship. It's not real deep. A lot of us don't really understand him as a healer, as somebody who can actually go in there and deal with the past. A lot of times what we try to do is we just try to say, oh, that's behind us, and we forget about it, but it still affects us. Just like my shoulder still affects me when I do certain things because I didn't let it set properly, I didn't get it healed correctly. So with that said, the first thing I want to do is I want to look at the word well, and it's Ba'er. I think I'm saying that right. Ba'er, the Hebrew word Hebrew 875, and it means a pit, a well, or a spring. So it's a little bit different now. And back in the day, a well probably meant a lot more than it means to us now, because we just run to the faucet and turn it on and we don't think twice about it. We can drive down the street and we can get water anywhere and faucets anywhere. You know, it's not a big deal. But back in the day, a well represented, some kind of relief, some kind of contentment, in a sense. Like if I'm traveling and I'm traveling through the desert and I'm thirsty and I see this well, it's like refreshing. Okay, so we're talking about a physical place, a well, but there's a spiritual representation of being a place of refreshing, of being a place where you can be restored, where you could be, revived, and you can continue on, right? If we were traveling through, you see it in the movies all the time, where they're going through the desert and they're dying of thirst, and all the dust and all everything. They see a well and they're like, oh, they're all excited and they're all running and drinking water all crazy, and now they have like more expectation back in their life. They're like more alive. They've been refreshed. So, in a physical sense, it refreshes us, but also in the Ruach, it speaks of something. It's a place of refreshing also in the same way. And the reason why I can say that is because that Hebrew word 875 that stands for well also has a root word, which is the Hebrew word 874, which is Ba'er. I think one's Be'er and Ba'er. I'm probably pronouncing that incorrectly, but try the best I can. Okay, so the root word, where we have a physical well, which is the word 875, the Hebrew word 875, but the root word of that is Hebrew 874, and it means to dig, to engrave, to explain, or to make plain. So in a physical sense, a well has to be dug. But if we look at it in the Ruach, what it's saying is the well is a place of refreshing, and it's a place where you dig deep, and also another word is to make plain. So you dig deep and you straighten out those things in your life that are incorrect. You straighten out those things that haven't been healed. You straighten out the things that you haven't dealt with. A lot of times we don't deal with things. We just live with them. We learn to live with them. Like I learned to just live with the shoulder, Like I said, it doesn't affect me all of the time. It just affects me sometimes when I'm doing certain kind of motions or certain kind of thing. Or maybe I'll try to lay on it and it'll bother me, a certain kind of workout. But I can function with it, so I just leave it alone, right? And that's a lot of times what happens. Except the only thing, it's worse in our Ruach, in our being and in our heart, when we allow these areas of scarred tissue to just stay there and we don't fix them, because the enemy sees that as it's like a key. It's like a way in. He has a way into your house. He has a way in to ruffle your life up. with whatever you've been through and whatever you've had to do. So it's important for us to allow Him to go in there and to dig these things up and to heal. See, through my experience, a lot of people don't really understand the Ruach HaKodesh in a way of healing. See, the Ruach HaKodesh gives us access to the Father, right? Through Yahushua, our example, Yahushua came and he exercised. See, what He did is He gave examples of how to use the Ruach HaKodesh to speak to the Father and to bring the Shemaim to the earth and to bring what the Father wants to the earth. Okay? He was our example. Right? And so for Him to do that, a lot of times we say, oh, He do this, He does that, He can heal us. But if we never let Him get inside and deal with our deep-rooted issues, honestly, we really, truly don't understand Him as a healer in that sense. We might be able to just quote scriptures. We might be able to read scriptures about healing, which is great. But in order to allow Him to heal, you're going to have to open up. And when you open up, it's going to hurt. Okay? But the thing about this hurt is when you open up and you allow Him to go in there, you start to feel the hurt. But what He does is He starts to remove it. He holds you up. You cry, and you might get angry, or might get frustrated, but He's right there, and He's just saying, okay, bring it up to the surface. It comes up to the surface, and then He takes it and He just removes it out of your life. You don't need this anymore. Then you might get mad, or you might get sad, and then you're sad and you're crying. It's like in a sense going back to that place, but you're not alone this time. And you don't have to hide it. You don't have to mask it. You don't have to cover it. You don't have to pretend like it doesn't bother you. But you just go and you allow Him to heal you. Okay? So when we haven't received that healing, and we're going to get into the scripture right now. When we haven't received that healing, then let's say if I was a parent, and let's say when I was younger, I treated my children bad, and all of a sudden I started reading the Word and I started following the Word, but there were some issues I never really got healed with as to why I treated my children this way, why I had done that to them. And I kind of just told them one time, forgive me for what I done, I didn't mean to do it, and leave it alone. See, because I haven't received healing, I don't know how to help them to receive healing. But when I receive my healing, then I can go back and I can say, you know what? It's more than me just saying, forgive me for doing that. It's me putting in the work. What do I need to do? What can I do? What can I say? And how can I improve my children's life? How can I make their life better? How can I build them? So let's go to the scripture. Because a lot of us are limping around with brokenness, broken areas, unhealed parts, and it affects us. And the Father wants to make us whole. So YaHuchanan, chapter 4, John chapter 4. We're going to start in verse 1. So when the master knew that the Pharisees had heard that Yahushua had made and immersed more taught ones than YaHuchanan, although Yahushua himself didn't immerse but his taught ones, he left Yehuda and went away to Galil. And he had to pass through Shamaron. And he came to the city in Shamaron called Shechem, near a piece of land Yaakov gave to his son Yosef. And Yaakov's fountain was there. So Yahushua, being wearied from the journey, was sitting thus at the fountain. It was about the 6th hour. So here's Yahushua, and it's Yaakov's fountain, okay, or well. And so Yahushua is there because he's weary. So see, even in the flesh, in the physical, right? That's a place to get refreshed. He was getting refreshed with the water, the physical water. Is that what's making the noise? Or is it touching on my shirt? Excuse me. Sorry about that. Verse 6. And Jacob's well was there. So Yahushua, being wearied from the journey, was sitting thus at the well. And it was about the 6th hour. Verse 7. And a woman from Samaritan came to drink water. Yahushua said to her, "Give me water to drink." For his taught ones had gone off to the city to buy food. And the woman of Samaritan therefore said to him, "How is it that you, being a Yehudi, ask a drink from me, a woman of Samaritan? For Yahudim do not associate with Samaritanim." Yahushua answered and said to her, "If you knew the gift of Elohim, and who it is who says to you, 'Give me a drink,' you would have asked him, and he would have given you living water." The woman said to him, "Master, you have no vessel, and the well is deep. From where then do you have living water? Are you greater than our father Jacob, who gave us this well, and drank from it, and his sons and his cattle?" Yahushua answered and said to her, "Everyone drinking of this water shall thirst again. But whoever drinks of the water I give him shall certainly never thirst again, and the water that I give him shall come in. And the water that I give him shall become in him a fountain of water springing up unto everlasting life." The woman said to him, "Master, give me this water so that I do not thirst, nor come here to draw." Yahushua said to her, "Go call your husband and come here." And the woman answered and said, "I have no husband." Yahushua said to her, "You have well said, I have no husband. For you have had 5 husbands, and the one whom you now have is not your husband. What you have said is true." And the woman said to him, "Master, I see you are a Nabi." So let's go back and break this down. And there's tons of different messages that could be pulled from this scripture. Right? See, it doesn't make sense for the world to do things a certain way. Like we talked about healing. For the world, it's like, get over it. Just leave it alone. That's a way of dealing with it. So to go up to somebody and say, "You know what? We need to go back there, and we need to go back there and let the Ruach HaKodesh, operate in this situation and remove whatever it is that needs to be healed and restore it." Now, I ain't going to go back to that. That's stupid. Why am I going to go back to something that happened 20 years ago? But because it's still affecting your life to this day. Okay? So we see here that she had initially there was a carnal mind there. Okay? She's like, "You don't even have nothing. How are you going to give me water? You're asking me to give you water, but all of a sudden you're telling me you have water that's greater than this water, but you're sitting there and you don't even have nothing to get the water out with." Right? So what does he have to do? What happens at the well? What is the root of the word well? To make plain. To explain. So what does he do? When he explains this water, she says, "I want this water." Why didn't he just give her the water? It's not physical water. There was something that had to happen. See, in order to be what he says here in verse number 14, it says, "Whoever drinks the water shall never thirst, and the water that I give shall become in him a fountain of water springing up into everlasting life." Can I fill your cup up? Let's say we're all cups. Can I fill your cup up if you have a hole in the bottom of your cup? You're not going to be able to contain the water or hold the water. So in order for her to have this water, he had to go and deal with her issue, the root of her issue, whatever it was. Now, what does he do by talking about go get your husband? What was he trying to do? Was he trying to embarrass her? No, what he was trying to do is he was trying to say, you've had 5 husbands. He's basically saying to her, what's wrong? There's something wrong with your life. There's something that's broken. Because you can't find stability, there's something wrong. What's wrong? Right? Now when he used this word, right? When he read her mail and spoke to her, it kind of opened her eyes up a little bit. I imagine she kind of like, whoa. And it doesn't go into whole detail here of what's happening, but I would say that he likely went into some rooted issue of something that happened in her life that she never really truly dealt with in a way that is proper and healthy, which is through the Ruach HaKodesh. There is no other healing. You know, if I don't know, say I was married and my wife cheated on me, what do my friends do? They take me out to the club and they take me to do this, they take me to drink, they introduce me to their friend, and I get on these dating sites. You know, that's not healing. That's like a temporary patch Band-Aid, you know, but there's still issues that I need to be healed of. And so a lot of times when we run to the Father, right, when we come to the Father, and some people come, it's like we don't never trust Him enough to open up our heart to the areas where we were damaged to really understand how much He loves us. See, that's love. That's a relationship. I trust Him to open my heart with the deepest, the darkest things that I've ever done or that I've ever been through, or the saddest things, or the things that make me the most angry. And I'm not to say that when you sit there and you hear somebody and you feel it, you feel the anointing on the words that they're speaking because of what they've experienced, and it moves you sometimes to tears, or it moves you to like wow, like you feel the Father's love. You feel because it's sincere. It's not an act. It's not a play. It's not so people can tell me how great I am. It's not so I can get something from somebody. It's truly genuine experience, a testimony of what the Father's done in their life, how He's healed them, how He's made them whole. And when I used to sit there and I used to see all these things, it used to encourage me, right? And so if you're there right now, you're listening, and maybe you don't know the Father in that way. Maybe there's some areas where you still sometimes are bothered by, ask Him, even if you don't have the strength, say, give me the strength to trust You, that I can open up my heart to You, that You can go into these areas of things that have happened to me in the past, that I could be healed of them. So I'd sit there and I'd hear these different testimonies, and some people will just repeat them things, or some people will just quote the healing scriptures, which is great. It's great to know them. I'm not in any way trying to knock that. But if there's areas in our life where we need to be healed, a lot of people, when they're afraid of that healing, they'll learn about all the things about it, but they'll never go through it and experience it. Right? So if there's an area where I'm broken, I got to learn how to see. Love is trusting. See, I love my wife. I trust my wife. When I married her, we made a covenant, right? Before Yahuwah. I trust my wife with my heart, That's love. I've been in bad relationships before where my heart's been broken, and part of me says, I don't never want to give nobody my heart again in my flesh. But how can I be married to someone and not give them all of myself? So when I got married, what happened was I basically gave her my heart, right? And trusted her enough that she wouldn't do bad by it, and hurt and harm me. Right? So it's the same thing with the Father, That's what love is you have to trust Him. Give Him your heart. Let Him show you through experience, wow, He's not going to crush me like everybody else. He's here to help me. He's here to stand by me. And then what happens is you learn what it means. You experience it. So what happened for me is I began to hear all these testimonies of people being healed. I began to hear all these stories, And I knew there was some areas in my life, right, that I wasn't 100% complete in. And I had one or two choices to make. Either I can try to ignore it and go on and play a good believer and pretend like everything's okay, or else I can go back and I can deal with it, and maybe some of the feelings and the emotions come back, but this time I have the Ruach HaKodesh with me, instructing me on what to do with the Father to release it, and so it's never in my life again, so I could be healed of it. That there's no more sting. That doesn't mean I don't forget it. That doesn't mean you're going to forget what happened to you, but there's no more sting. It's no more bondage over your life. It doesn't control you anymore. So in seeing all these people's testimony, I say, you know what? I want that for me. I used to hear people say, well, he does this, he does that, he done this for me. And I'm like, well, I want you to do something for me. I mean, it's all good that I can sit here and repeat other people's stories, and I can quote all kinds of scriptures and read all kinds of in the book about all kinds of things that he's done for other people. What about me, man? What does the word say? You have not because you ask not. Most of the time we don't ask. So I got encouragement from seeing other people, and I want it for myself. Hey, I want you to do something for me. Hey, I want to know you like that. Because most people can tell, you know. You sit in front of somebody, you know. And I'm not saying, it's hard to really tell. I mean, internet's great, but it's hard to really get a feel for somebody like that. You're not in the room with them. It's really hard sometimes to get a true feel of what the person is. I'm not saying it's possible. But when you're talking to somebody and you feel that, you know, it's like, you know what, that person is telling me something they're not lying. They're not making any stories up. They're not stretching it. They're not stretching the truth a little bit. That happened. I want that for me. I want to know the Father like that. See, a lot of times we're scared to know the Father like that because we're afraid of what's going to happen if we deal with the past, with the issues. But I'm here to tell you through experience, and maybe to encourage you to step out. Now, you know what? He's more capable and able to go and deal with all them things. He's more. He has everything, and he loves you enough to walk you through it to where, you know, yeah, we got to deal with some things, but you know it's going to be gone, and it won't bother you anymore. So going back to this woman here, he goes to her and he tells her, you know, he's basically telling her there's something broken in your life. Where's he at? He's at the well. He has a living water. Yahushua has a living water. Through the Ruach HaKodesh. Obeying the instructions of the Father, Yahuwah. That's the same thing with us. He's the example. Through the Ruach HaKodesh, the Father will give us the instruction to make us whole. On earth as it is in the Shemaim, right? Coming down to the Eretz, to where we are, right? Bringing down the wholeness of the way it is where the Father's at. Bringing that into our realm, okay? But it takes us having to acknowledge. She could have just ran off and said, you know what, nah. She acknowledged it. She said, you know what, that's right, okay? She probably said, what is it? What do I do? All right? Let's keep reading. Verse 20. Our fathers worshipped in this mountain, but you people say that Jerusalem is the place where one needs to worship. Yahushua said to her, woman, believe me, the hour is coming when you shall neither worship on this mountain nor in Jerusalem. Worship the Father. You worship what you do not know. We worship what we know, because the deliverance is of the Yahudim. 23. But the hour is coming, and now is, when the true worshiper shall worship the Father in Ruach and truth, for the Father does seek such to worship Him. Elohim is Ruach, and those who worship Him need to worship Him in Ruach and truth. So see, when we worship, what it means is worshiping Him or or be in a relationship with Him or talking to Him, it's not natural. See, a lot of times we tend to look at the natural. We look at, and I mean, we're in the natural, so there's things that, we kind of have to see and acknowledge, and we have to deal with people, but we have to understand that we have to look to the one who created us. Okay? Me going to a psychologist, a psychiatrist might bring some temporary relief, but it's not going to bring true healing. They might throw me on a couple pills to sedate me, so I'm like half there, but it's not going to bring true healing. Doctors and people throw out prescriptions so much, and people swallow them, right? They just take it. They take these prescriptions, they take these pills, they take all these things that's supposed to make them feel better, and all it's doing is just numbing them. It's no different than an alcoholic. Somebody who's taking painkillers is no different than somebody who's smoking dope or somebody who's getting drunk. When they're taking these things to hide from what's really going on. I'm not talking about pain. Pain is pain, but even in pain, we would have to know, like, I would be, if I was in pain, where I had, like, at that level of pain, I might take them, but I'd take them sparingly, but I would come to the place where I would kind of trust, I would begin to fast, I would begin to fast and pray, because some of these medicines that the doctors are giving, they're not really giving them to really help. They might help in one area, but they're destroying you in 3 or 4 or 5, 6 different other areas. If I was in that boat, I would say, you know what? You're a healer. If you can take this from me. And I'd do what I have to do, and I'd keep knocking, and I keep seeking, and I keep knocking, and I keep seeking until He done something for me. Alright? So, a lot of times, we go to the world and ask the world how to be healed. We ask the world what we need to take. We ask how we're supposed to deal with this, right? But what happens? The world can only give you temporary relief. The world can't bring healing. So when He talks about you must worship Him in the Ruach, He's saying, you can't think about it in your natural mind. You can't go and try to make it make sense in the world with a bunch of people that don't know the Father, because He doesn't operate the same way that the people of this world that don't know Him operate. It's a whole different operation. You can't fit in both. You can't make sense of both. And see, as we have a desire to follow Him, He begins to reveal things to us. He revealed things to us about certain type of foods. He revealed things to us about certain type of medication. He revealed things to us about vaccinations, different things. Why? Because we have a desire to follow Him, and so He's showing and exposing some of these things that are dangerous to us because He loves us. But to the world, they don't understand. Well, vaccination is a good thing. Some people that don't know Yahuwah are catching on, But He gave us a heads up to know and to understand what's going on. So, if you go to Him and then you go to people and ask them, what should you do? You're going to get 2 different answers. And most everyone's going to say, well, Yahuwah says, that's weird. Who would do something? They would probably say it was stupid. But because He doesn't operate the way people operate down here. Those that follow Him operate like Him, and they understand. So He's saying that you have to worship Him in the Ruach, in your inner being. I've seen so many people come through here, and they're like, "Oh, I'm this. dual diagnosed, or I'm this, or I'm schizophrenic, or I'm this, or I need to take these pills. No, you don't. They said I'm crazy. No, you're not. What are you talking about? You can get up. You can get dressed. You're not running around giving your money away. You know how to go to the bathroom. You know how to wipe your butt. You're not crazy. Right? Some people accept the help, and I've been able to help some people. Some people haven't, because you know what? They didn't want healing. They want to check. See, some people don't want healing. Some people want medication. Some people want pain medication. Some people want a check from the government. They don't really want to be healed, right? For whatever reason, because if they get a check, then they don't have to work no more. If they're on drugs, you know, whether it be depression drugs or pain drugs, it just numbs them from the world. They don't have to face the world. I'll just pop a pill. Oh, I'm hurting. Okay, pop a pill. Now I'm like numb. I'm like a drunk. It's no different than a drunk, right? You're hiding from your problems. You're not dealing with the what's right in front of your face. It's like, I'm just going to get loaded, and whatever it is, what it is, it'll be what it's going to be, right? But you're not getting help. You're making the situation worse for everybody else, and you're also destroying yourself at the same time. They're using you as a guinea pig, giving you all this medication to just see what it does to different people, right? But like I said, that's what happens when we go to the world and ask them to heal us. When we go to the world and ask for advice, right? What do? I just broke up. My wife was thinking about leaving. What do I do? Oh, let's go get drunk. Let's go do this. There's no sound advice. My marriage is in trouble. What do I do? Screw, leave her. No sound advice, right? So if we truly want to be healed, if we truly want to be whole, we truly want to fix the areas, we need to go after and be led by the Ruach HaKodesh. And we have to understand that it's not going to fit and match the system of how the world would declare healing. So Yahushua offers her this water, this drink. But what he's trying to do is he's trying to heal her, and he's trying to tell her how to have a connection with the Father. Okay? I've experienced healing. There's been relationships in my life with family members that have been broken. Stuff that happened to me when I was real young. That severed that. Sometimes I would use that excuse to do things, but sometimes it really did affect me and bother me. But as I began to really understand the Father through the Ruach HaKodesh and allow Him to lead me through some things that were weird and to me different in my flesh, because nobody else was doing them. But when I began to see the results of following what He was given to me and seeing the true healing, and to being able to really say it doesn't really bother me, it doesn't sting anymore, and really mean it sincerely, then I understood, you know what? I don't care what the world says. I don't care what they say how to do, because I already know through experience what it feels like to truly and sincerely be healed from something. I understand that. So if we haven't experienced that, even as believers, right? Because it basically falls on us. It's your desire. It's your life. He gave you the opportunity to accept or reject whatever He has. So it's up to you. It's more than just coming and sitting and listening to the Word and going to 2-3 services a week. That's not enough. Right? It takes work. You got to have an effort. You got to have a desire to want to change something. See, people think that you just show up and you sit and you listen to someone talk, and then you go in the back and you say your little amen and have your little lunch or whatever, and go on about your week, and you every now and then do a little car wash or a bake sale for the ministry, and and you're on your way. No, what it is it's putting you in an environment, it's setting you in a place where now you have a choice to make. you're sitting in a place where you have a choice or a decision to make. What are you going to do at that point? What is your choice? Right? Are you going to say, I want that? Or are you going to say, I'm just happy with just showing up? So, let's keep reading. We're going verse number, where did we stop? 25. The woman said to him, I know that Mashiach is coming, who is called the Anointed. And when he comes, he shall announce to us all. Yahushua said to her, I who am speaking to you am he. And upon this his taught ones came, and they were marveling that he was speaking to a woman. However, no one said, what do you seek, or why do you speak to her? And the woman left her water jug and went away to the city and said to the men, come see a man who told me all that I have. Is he not the Mashiach? Verse 30. They went out of the city and were coming to him. But in the meantime his taught ones were asking him, saying, Rabbi, eat. And he said to them, I have food to eat of which you do not know. Then the taught ones said to each other, did anyone bring him food to eat? Yahushua said, my food is to do the desire of him who sent me and to accomplish his work. So what happens here is kind of funny. He was like on one. Right? He was like in his zone. You ever had that happen? Where you're ministering to somebody and the Ruach HaKodesh just comes over you, gives you words to speak, and then all of a sudden you just feel like, I don't care. Like what he was saying is, I don't care about food right now. I'm handling business. I'm taking care of business. Okay? So in this appointed time when he was sitting at this well, the Ruach was moving through him, and he was speaking to this woman to make her whole. So in order for us to be whole, we have to allow the Ruach HaKodesh to speak to us and to reveal to us what's wrong. It's not good enough just showing up. See, there's a lot of people, and when Yahushua walked, he was going all to these different synagogues and all these different places, and all these religious people, they were showing up. But why did they not recognize him? Why did they not acknowledge him? Why were they not healed? Why was their life still broken? They were playing the part. They were going through the motions. They were saying the right things and they were showing up. But why was their life still broken? Because they never really allowed him to go in there and deal with and fix what needs to be fixed. See, when we don't let that happen, then all we're basically doing is prolonging something, and we're just allowing the situation to be worse. See, that's what it means about the lukewarm. Right? If I'm professing all these things, but I'm only doing it halfways or sideways, is it better or worse for my children? Or for my family maybe? Or for my friends? It's worse. It's worse because I'm giving a bad example. Sometimes I'm in, sometimes I'm out. I say this, but I do this. So I'm giving a bad example. So they're automatically, if they hear anything of, let's say, Yahuwah, they're rejecting. I mean, it's just like everything else, because cousin does it, and they're like so sideways. You know, they say that, but they don't do this. So like, I ain't following that. So you're actually pushing them away. So what has to happen is you have to, and we have to allow him to come in, and first we have to ask him. All right? A lot of times we hide it. We ignore it. What's really going on? What's really happening in our life? We act like it's not there. It's not really happening. But if we sincerely were to sit down and to ask Him, or to ask yourselves, do I have shalom? Do I have shalom in my life? Do I have shalom in my home? Do I have shalom in my marriage? Do I have shalom with myself and who I am and what I am? And we have to be willing and able to hear the truth. See, when He spoke to this woman, He says, no, you've had 5 husbands. And the one you're with now, that's not even your husband. Look at what she says in 19. And the woman said to him, Master, I see you are a Nabi. So what is she saying? She's not closing her ears to the truth. You're right. See, the truth does hurt. But it doesn't have to keep hurting. It's up to us to decide whether it keeps hurting or not. See, she could have ran off and left. She acknowledged the fact. He spoke a truth to her. And she said, basically, by her staying there and her talking and her going and telling other people that hey, this is the Mashiach here, she acknowledged it and she listened to it and she accepted it. She didn't overlook it. She didn't act like, oh, it's not there. I'm not going to worry about that. I'm just, she said, no, look at this. Here's what's going on. And so it doesn't really explain in the detail. There's just big highlights as to what happens here. But I guarantee you, I'm almost 100% sure that in the Ruach HaKodesh, He began to speak about, when she decided to hear, He began to speak about the areas where she was broken. Right? And it's the same thing for us. He'll begin to speak about the areas where things are broken. No matter what. People will say, well, you don't understand the situation I'm in. It doesn't matter what situation you're in. Who's your father? If the Father, if you're allowing the Father, He can change any situation. But maybe it's just us that we haven't learned to love or trust Him enough, or haven't experienced Him enough to understand that He can change any situation. So maybe He could change these things, but this is just going to be too hard for Him. Right? It says there's nothing impossible. What's the holdup? It's us. The holdup is us. How much am I really going to allow Him to have in my life? How much of His truth am I really going to accept? Am I going to hear the truth? Am I going to sit and really listen and really ask myself where my life is and what's going on with myself? Or am I going to just plug my ears and act like it's not happening? That's what I was saying earlier. It's not just showing up. See, people all over the world show up for different services, show up for different things, show up to different meetings, and even they have their own churches, right? Even like the AA is like a church, and all these other different clubs and these different meetings, they're churches, right? That's different than a congregation and a ministry. That's a whole nother message, okay? But they go and they don't really get to the bottom of what? It's not just about saying, I'm over that. It could be when you were a child. Something happened to you, or you didn't receive the love from your parents, or, and you really have to ask yourself, does it really bother me? Am I okay with it, or am I just saying I'm okay with it? And when you really go to that place, then He said, you'll realize, dang, that's still bothering me. It's still affecting while I'm angry. It's still affecting while I'm frustrated. It's still affecting while, what's wrong? And if you're willing to hear the truth, He's willing to go in and He's willing to walk you through and bring that up to the surface. Now it's going to hurt when it comes up to the surface, but He'll get rid of it forever. Okay? He'll do that. But we have to do our part. See, it says, don't be hearers of the word, but be doers. Don't just hear what He says. Oh, that's good. He did that for this woman. That's cool. Is she any bit better than any of us? The reason why He was able to do something for her is because she was accepting what He was doing. See, we have to look at our life. Look at our life. Look at everything around us. It says everywhere we go, we should bring shalom. Does that happen? There should be nothing broken in us or close to us. If there's something broken, we have to ask ourselves, what's wrong? Where did I miss the mark? Show me. Right? We should operate in a way and in a realm that people can't help but change when they're around us. But it takes us to do something that nobody else will do. That a lot of times we're embarrassed of what the family would think, what the friends would think, what the world would think. But that embarrassment is keeping us in bondage. Because He says here that you have to worship me in the Ruach. I'm not going to operate the way the world operates. I'm not going to deal with sickness. I'm not going to deal with pain. I'm not going to deal with healing the way the world deals with it. So you got a choice. You want the world? You want the world's medication and the world's way of doing things? Then you can have that. But also comes with that, it's not a complete healing, and it comes with the side effects of that. Or you can go with the Father, and it looks strange to the world, but you get everything that you need, and it's not a temporary fix. It's permanent. It doesn't mean, like I said, you're going to forget what happened to you. But it's not going to have no more sting. It's not going to have no more pain. It's not going to have no more effect on your character. Right? You'll see, like, say, a boy or a little girl or a boy was, to say, molested or something. Right? And let's say it made them angry. They didn't even realize it. But they're just real short-tempered, real angry all the time, real snappy, you know. And they go through life and they're just like that through 20s, 30s, you know, they're just always like that. And maybe the person that molested them or whatever, raped them or did stuff to them, you know, they have no problem with that person anymore. They could be in the same room with them. They're actually okay with them, and they think it's all right. But in actuality, that part is okay, but they're still in bondage because they still have a snappy, short temper based upon what happened to them there, even if they forgave the person in a sense where the person doesn't bother them anymore. But there's still this little attitude. So that's residue of a broken relationship, of an improper healing. So a proper healing would be that whatever that situation, whatever spirit was on that person, or whatever tribulation or hardship, whether it's a loss of a loved one or whatever happened, right, no longer affects me in a way where it affects my character, or affects me going forward, or affects the way I raise my children, or it affects the way anything anymore. That's what the healing means. Okay? That's what being whole means. So let's say I haven't been whole, and let's say today I decide I'm going to get whole. Let's say I have family, or let's say, I was in a position where, let's say I worked at an orphanage or something, I was around children all the time and I was mean to them. And they were the only parent I knew, or only figure I knew. And let's say I come to the place where I find out where that came from, I allow Yahuwah to heal me, and I'm healed, and the reason, when he does this, he's not doing it to make you feel guilty all over again about it. He's doing it to make you be whole inside. He doesn't want what happened or what didn't happen to ruin the character of who you are. And a lot of times, it's like you're finding a whole new person, because you're becoming the person that you were before this happened, right? Your life has been completely changed. So once I'm whole, now, if I was responsible for damaging other people, now I have to begin to pray and ask the Ruach, is there anything I can do to bring restoration in their life now that I have restoration in my life? See, that's what it means to be used by him. Because what did Yahushua come to do? He came to heal. So if he came to heal and I become healed, now I got to go and begin to try to heal people. Okay? For me, I feel obligated to some of my family members, right? Now, not that they can't make their own choice, but I feel as an older cousin that I'd done some things that they watched, that maybe if I wouldn't have done, it could have been a little different for them. Now, I can't beat myself up over it, but I can go back and say, you know what? I need to right some of these things that I said. Sometimes it's more than just saying, forgive me. You got to really go back and listen to them, or really explain to them why. And it might hurt you, but you have to really go, once you're healed, you have to go back, because we're supposed to bring life to people, okay? Bringing life to people isn't just telling them, say this prayer and accept Yahuwah and do this and keep Shabbat. We have to explain life to them. If I go to, let's say my children, let's say they're grown, but let's say I had whatever, or let's say my cousins, for example. Growing up, they were younger than me, and I said things, and I remember at one time I was like, I didn't really care about if somebody was with somebody else. Like, who cares? It doesn't matter if they're together or not. Who cares? Go be with them if they're going to let you be with them, right? And I said that to some of my cousins. Well, some of them actually done that, right? And it made life a little bit difficult for them, right? So as I pray with them things, like, that's why I'm so grateful that I didn't have children while I was in my mess, because if I did, I'd have a lot of work to go fix. I couldn't just go back to my children and say, you know what, I was bad, I did the wrong thing, forgive me, I didn't mean it. Yeah, that's a start. But now I got to go and I got to begin to repair what I broke. I got to make sure that they're okay, that they're not just saying it's all right, but they're really damaged. I really have to begin to look at their life and say, why are they doing this? I see people sometimes and I'm like, man, they have all this. Well, why are they doing that? What's wrong? What's broken? There's something broken, that they would have all these things and they would still do this. What's missing? What happened? Where are you not healed that this is going on? But it first takes me, right? It first takes us to really truly ask him, am I healed? Am I in shalom? Am I really trusting you? Are there things in my life that I think that you can't do, that are impossible for you? Because that's a stumbling block. Now, what happens when that happens? Because I have that happen to me sometimes, and I say, you know what? The Word says this, and I know the Word is true, but right now, where I'm at, I believe this. So what am I doing? I'm acknowledging that the word is truth. I'm acknowledging I'm way over here, so you need to help me get from here to here. Can I say, I know you're not a liar, and I know what you say is true, but I feel right now this is impossible. So help my unbelief that I can make a way for it to be possible. See, I'm not going to go around and say, oh, he can do anything. But then when he tells me, well, here's an area right where you don't think I can do, he's like, oh, no, he can do anything. See, I'm playing a part. That's not the goal. The goal is to acknowledge where you're at. Say, okay, this is what it's supposed to be. This is where I'm at. I'm having a hard time believing that, but I know this is the truth. So help me in my unbelief so I can get here, so I can do that, so I can fix that. See, that's just being honest. That's being honest, but it's not just giving up. It's just being honest and saying, help me get to that place where I need to be, where I can allow you to do this in my life. Help me to trust you in this area where I can allow you to do this in my life. Because I got to be completely whole. I mean, I could be used not completely whole, meaning, but for me to, here's the thing where people forget. People think that just because they read the word, that everybody else is ignorant and under them. Here's the problem, though. People have been around for a while. People know how to read people. No matter what you say, people can look at you or they can hear you and they can discern. Because they have discern. All in different areas people can discern. Believer or unbeliever. Whether what you're saying has some weight, some power behind it. But when you speak to somebody and the Ruach HaKodesh, regardless of what they are, and you speak to them, right? From a place of somebody who's healed, from a place of somebody who's experienced, they already know it's the real deal. There ain't no convincing. I don't have to tell them 5 and 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 times. Everything's healed. Look at my life. What's broke? What's in my realm of fixing? Is it fixed? Can I step outside of my realm and try to fix maybe some things that wasn't mine, or maybe some things that I had in the past, right? To make the effort. But it has to happen is I have to be fixed, and I can't ignore. I can't ignore myself. I can't ignore what he's telling me. Because if that happens, I'm not going to be able to receive the full healing, and I'm going to be limping through life. He doesn't want us to limp through life. So take some time this week really to ask. Ask yourself first, am I in shalom in my life? Don't be afraid of the answer. If you know the answer is no, you have a choice to make. What can you do? Oh, well, life, it's life. It is what it is. Right? Or you can say, you know what? Father, I want you to do something about it. Help me. Teach me. Show me. See, people think you have to know the way. You don't have to know the way. All you have to do is know the person. Yahuwah. Right? He has all the answer. You don't have to know the answer. You don't even know how to have to go about it. All you need to know is you need to go to Him. And allow Him at that point to take control. There's some things He shows me. He's like, dude, I don't even know where to start. This is like out of control, crazy. I cannot believe this. You know? I guess. You know? Yeah, I mean, you're right. It's true, but I don't even know where to start. So what is my prayer? You know, you show me something, Father. Man, I didn't even realize it was there. I don't even know how to start to fix it, but you show me it for a reason, so I want you to help me change this. And He will. But it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to happen with the one prayer. Sometimes it might take you put in a situation where you have to respond differently. See, the only way you know if you're growing or if you've grown is if you're put in a situation where you have to make a decision, right or wrong. You can't just sit there and pray and say, heal me, oh, you're healed, and it's never going to bother you again. No, you're going to have to be challenged. You're going to have to be put in a situation where you see, you know, let's say I have anger problem against somebody. And I say, I want to forgive him. I say, okay. Help me forgive him. I say, okay, I will. So to say you read the scriptures, you had a good cry, and you prayed and you released it, you realized it was the enemy using that person to hold you in bondage and to take away your shalom. You say, I'm not letting the enemy have that over me anymore. I'm not letting that person control my life and keep me in bondage anymore. I'm not going to allow that to happen. How do I deal with this person? How do I do this? How do I respond differently? And he gives you the clue and he says, all right. Then you don't hear anything. You're like, I got it. Okay. Here comes probably most likely it's the enemy, comes back, uses that same person to come at you. What are you going to do? You're going to forget what you learned and you're going to go back to your old self in the flesh? Or are you going to say, you know what? No, I recognize this. This is a trap. I've been in bondage for this many years, or I've been in bondage for this for whatever. I'm not going to let it happen again. I'm not going to respond the same way. I'm not going to do the same thing. I'm not going to let it keep going on like this. It's not going to happen anymore. I'm going to do something different. Right? Now I've known that I've grown and something's changed. So the well, Yahushua being the well, the fountain of living water, has a desire through the Ruach HaKodesh to change and to heal, to truly, sincerely heal, to remove the sting of whatever has happened. And not only that, but once the sting and you've acknowledged and you've been healed, then you can go back and see. It's not just, we can't be greedy. It can't just be, well, I'm better, so I told them to forgive me, so screw it. They don't want to forgive me. That's their bad, not mine. That's selfish, because it says, freely you receive, freely you give. If I receive healing, and let's say it was an area where I was involved, or involved a group, maybe co-workers, family, friends, and I'm completely healed, then I should have a desire to try, to make an effort, to put in work, right? See, sometimes it's not just bringing them to somebody else. Right? I used to think that sometimes, like, somebody needs prayer. Oh, I'll go to this person, or somebody needs, like, oh, go to them. They know more than me. Like, no, you need to talk to them. Like, I give this is your job. Right? I can't neglect my responsibility. So if there's an area where I can help and bring healing, I want to try to do that. But there's an area sometimes where you're supposed to do that, and you're wanting to, hey, we'll come to service and they'll help you, when actually it's your responsibility to give them the words, to give them the ear, or to correct the things sometimes maybe that you've done wrong, and to improve on it. I'll end with this story. I've shared it a couple times before. I got in trouble before, and it was strange that I don't even know how it happened, but when I got ordained, a friend of mine, I don't even know why, I know why, it was a Ruach HaKodesh, and he didn't realize it. He invited the chief of police to come to when I was being ordained, and he's like, oh, the chief of police is coming, and I'm thinking, oh, okay, well, I guess I don't really know him that well. I don't know why. But all right, you invited him, whatever, And so we were going through the ceremony, and I realized, I need to apologize to him as being a figure representing the police for what I've done, to make amends, okay? And so the point is that I was healed in an area, but not only was I healed, but I had to go back and I had to acknowledge and speak to the fact. I couldn't just say, forgive me and that's it. See, I'm still here in this community. I caused damage in this community, so I'm still here in this community righting my wrongs. I didn't just run off. I'm here. Sometimes I want to be somewhere else, but I'm here, and I'm here. Not only did I say, forgive me for the bad that I've done, but now I'm going to try to do something better for the community, and I try to do that here. So that's the same thing with us. We can't just think about us. Well, I'm better, so I ask them, forgive me, screw that. If they don't get it, they don't get it. Screw, I ain't, you know. We have to have a desire to help others too. We have to have a desire to you know what, to say, you know what, man, I'm going to make things better, you know. And if they won't let me speak into them, then let me speak into somebody else, you know. But sometimes you have to open yourself bare and say, you know, and tell them, you know, no details about what happened or what you done, or, you know, or everything, you know. Some people need that. Some people need to hear that. And so we have to be that sometimes for people in order for that to come, because we can't just receive stuff and keep it for ourselves. Freely you receive, freely you give. When I receive the healing, I got to learn how to give that healing out to others. So think about that this week. Think about if you're in Shalom, if you're not in Shalom. If there's areas where you're not healed, then ask Him to begin the process of bringing that healing and to start it. Let's pray. Abba Yahuwah, we come to you and we thank you. I pray for those listening on the stream, those here, and those that will hear this message later, that if there's any area where they haven't opened up to you, that you would put a desire on their heart to allow you to go in there and to really heal them areas and to be whole. And even if we're whole in all areas of our life, if there's any situations or there's any people that we've hurt and damaged that maybe we've asked forgiveness for, but that maybe we need to go and we need to work with and we need to help, that you will put it on our heart, because it's not just about us being healed, but it's also about helping others be healed. So we thank you, and we ask that you help us to receive the truth, whether it's easy or whether it's hard, not to cover our ears to it, and allow you to go in and heal these broken areas, that we can be whole and we can be one. So we thank you in the name of Yahuwah Yahushua. Amen. Thank you for tuning in to Eagles Haven Ministries. Shabbat Shalom. It's great to be back.